Greetings, everyone, welcome to Six Path Weeb. Today's featured fanfiction topic is Naruko x Deku, Soulmate AU. Disclaimer. The content on this channel is intended solely for entertainment and discussion purposes. I do not claim ownership of any anime footage featured in my videos. All rights and credits belong to their respective creators and copyright holders. Let's dive in. In a world where jutsu flowed like rivers through the veins of shinobi and quirks lit up cities like fireworks, there existed a legend shared across dimensions, the legend of soul marks. These marks were not born of chakra or genetic mutation, but of fate itself. They appeared at birth, glowing faintly and seemingly random in shape, color, and placement. But those who bore them knew the truth: they were bound to someone else by a thread of destiny. When the two halves of a pair came close, the marks would glow brighter, warmer, and more alive. No one knew where the soul mark power came from, whether it was the work of some ancient god, or the force of love carved into the fabric of the multiverse. What they did know was this: when you met the one destined for you, your whole life changed. Naruko Uzumaki had always felt different. It wasn't just the nine-tailed fox sealed inside her, or the way villagers used to look at her with fearful eyes. It wasn't even the way her raspy voice could shift from a growl to a joyful cheer in seconds. No, what truly set her apart was the small, bright green lightning bolt etched on the inside of her wrist. For as long as she could remember, it had pulsed gently, like a heartbeat not her own. Whenever she felt sad or scared, the mark would warm up, as though someone, somewhere, was silently cheering her on. Lately, though, the mark had begun to pull stronger. It would flare when she trained, glow brighter during quiet moments, and sometimes, she could even hear a voice. Not real words, just the sense of someone thinking of her. Half a world and a universe away, Izuku Midoriya, known to his friends as Deku, was dealing with a similar phenomenon. On his left arm, just above the elbow, was a swirling spiral the color of a summer sunset. He used to think it was just a weird birthmark, but when it glowed the same day he first activated One for All, he started taking it more seriously. His mother couldn't explain it. The doctors had no clue. He had started tracking its reactions in one of his hero notebooks. It would glow when he trained hard, flicker when he was about to do something reckless, and once, when he had almost given up, it flared so brightly he could have sworn it saved him. For years, he thought he was imagining things. But everything changed when he was selected for UA's Multiverse Hero Exchange program. The program was experimental, run by the top minds in both science and heroism. Its goal was to send top students into alternate dimensions to study different hero systems. While his classmates were paired with partner cities or alien worlds, Deku was assigned to a realm only referenced in ancient myth, a place where chakra reigned, and legends walked the earth. On the day he was meant to depart, his mark shone so bright he had to wrap a bandage over it to hide the glow. He didn't know what he was walking into, only that something, or someone, was calling to him. Naruko was training alone when the sky split open. It began as a hum in the air, like 1,000 bees buzzing just out of sight. Then a rift cracked open above the training field, spilling light and swirling energy. She braced herself, Rasengan forming in her palm, but what fell from the portal was not a monster. It was a boy. He tumbled out of the light, landing hard but scrambling up with the urgency of someone used to unexpected danger. Green hair. Freckles. A notebook falling from his backpack. But what Naruko noticed first was the mark on his arm, the same spiral as hers, glowing bright orange. Time froze. They stared at each other, both drawn to the glow pulsing on their skin. Naruko stepped forward, heart pounding like a drum. "That mark," she whispered. Deku held up his arm. "Yours is glowing too," he said softly. Then, as if answering their unspoken thoughts, both marks flashed brilliantly. A wave of heat passed between them, not burning, but comforting. Their souls had found each other. The mark didn't just glow now, it felt alive, like it was singing. Neither of them said the word soulmate, but they didn't need to. It was written in every breath they took in sync. Over the next few days, they spent every moment together. Deku was officially placed under the mentorship of Lady Tsunade and allowed to live near the Hokage Tower. Naruko was tasked with guiding him, a role she took on with fiery enthusiasm. She introduced him to Ichiraku Ramen, showed him the training grounds, and taught him the basics of chakra control. In return, Deku shared his notebooks, taught her about quirks, and explained how One for All worked, though he left out its mysterious origins. They sparred often, mixing jutsu with quirks in ways no one had ever seen. When Naruko created shadow clones, Deku would speed past them in bursts of green lightning, redirecting their attacks. When Deku launched himself into the air with a powered jump, Naruko would leap up to meet him mid-air, the two laughing as they crashed into a lake. But the peace didn't last. Unknown to them, something had slipped through the portal along with Deku, something dark. A shadowy being, drawn to the power of soul marks, followed in silence. It called itself No Fate, a being born from broken bonds and rejected destinies. It had no shape of its own, just a cloud of black mist and claw-like tendrils. It fed on fear, doubt, and most of all, connection. The stronger the bond, the more it wanted to break it. And the connection between Naruko and Deku? It was the brightest light it had ever seen. The first attack came without warning. Naruko and Deku were sparring near a waterfall when the sky darkened. A tendril lashed out, nearly hitting Deku before Naruko tackled him to the ground. They sprang apart, eyes scanning the woods. From the shadows, No Fate emerged, its body flickering and shifting. "I smell destiny," it hissed, voice like nails on stone. "And I will consume it." Deku activated One for All. Naruko summoned a Rasengan. The battle was fierce, the creature slippery and fast. It absorbed chakra like a sponge and dodged quirk-based attacks with ease. But when Deku and Naruko moved together, when they fought side by side, their marks would glow, and No Fate would recoil in pain. "You see?" it shrieked. "Your bond is a curse to me." They drove it off that day, but only barely. The days that followed were tense. The enemy had a name now. And a purpose. Soul marks were not just symbols of love, they were power, ancient and deep. And No Fate had feasted on broken soul marks in countless worlds. The legend said it could only be defeated by two soulmates in perfect harmony, body, mind, and spirit. Determined, Naruko and Deku trained harder. Tsunade and All Might, who had traveled through the stabilized portal to support his student, joined forces, rallying shinobi and pro-heroes alike. Battle strategies were drawn. Barriers were set. But the key was still the two young warriors who had never known they needed each other until they met. On the eve of the final confrontation, they sat beneath a tree in silence, watching the stars blink awake. "I used to think I wasn't meant for anyone," Naruko whispered. "That I'd always be alone." Deku looked down at his mark. "Me too. I used to think I was too broken. Too scared. But when I met you, it was like everything made sense." She smiled, not her usual cheeky grin, but something softer. "No matter what happens tomorrow, I'm glad I met you." He reached out and took her hand. "We'll fight together. Like we always have. Soulmates, right?" She squeezed his hand. "Right." The battle was unlike anything the world had seen. No Fate arrived at dawn, blotting out the sun with its swirling mass. Heroes and shinobi fought side by side, but their attacks did little. Only Deku and Naruko could hurt it, together. Their soul marks burned like firebrands, their bond acting like a seal against the creature's corruption. As the fight wore on, they grew tired, bruised, and bloodied, but their spirits never wavered. Finally, they unleashed their final move. Deku gathered all his strength into one focused point, his full power, guided with precision. Naruko summoned the largest Rasengan she'd ever formed, filled not just with chakra, but the light of every memory they'd shared. They charged, hand in hand, straight into the heart of the storm. The explosion shook the earth. Light and wind blasted outward. And when the dust cleared, No Fate was gone, vanished like a bad dream. Their marks, once glowing symbols, now shimmered gently with a soft warmth. The connection was still there. But stronger. Solidified. They had not just saved each other. They had saved both their worlds. In the days that followed, Deku remained in the Hidden Leaf, working with the Hokage and UA to strengthen the bond between worlds. Naruko began studying hero culture, planning to visit his world one day. They trained, laughed, and sometimes just sat together in peaceful silence, the marks on their skin a quiet reminder of what they had fought for. They weren't just heroes. They were each other's miracle. And in a world full of chaos and change, one thing was certain. Some destinies are written in stars. Theirs was written in light. Time skip, 5 years later, chapter, Bound Beyond Worlds. The leaves of the Hidden Leaf village rustled gently in the summer wind, and peace had settled across the nations like a long, calming sigh. Much had changed in 5 years. The portal linking the world of chakra and the world of quirks had stabilized, creating a peaceful bridge between two once separated realities. Now it shimmered softly at the edge of the Hokage Tower, a symbol of cooperation, courage, and one unforgettable story of fate. Naruko Uzumaki stood atop the tower, the Hokage cloak fluttering behind her. It was slightly too long, and she always joked about tripping over it, but the way she carried herself, strong and assured, no one questioned her place. At 21, she had become the youngest Hokage in history, her name etched into stone beside legends. But none of her achievements ever made her smile quite like seeing him. A ripple of green lightning sparked across the training field below, and a familiar figure appeared with a soft burst of energy. Izuku Midoriya, Deku, landed smoothly, adjusting his gloves and straightening his back, now broader and more confident than when he'd first tumbled out of the sky. His soul mark still shimmered faintly above his elbow, but over the years, a trail of glowing lines had grown from it, branching like roots toward his chest, as if the connection had grown deeper with time. Naruko jumped from the tower, landing beside him in a soft thud. "You're late," she said, grinning. "You're early," he replied, brushing a leaf from her shoulder. "I had to help Shikamaru stabilize the rift. Again. It's always the same story with that thing. It's crankier than Granny Tsunade on a Monday morning." They laughed, and for a moment, nothing else mattered. The world faded around them, no guards, no politics, no pressure. Just two souls who had found each other when they needed it most. Their relationship wasn't flashy. They didn't parade it around or cling to one another in public. But their bond was unmistakable. In battle, they moved like twin winds. In peace, they worked side by side. Sometimes he'd help write scrolls in the Hokage office while she trained academy students in quirk adaptation. Sometimes they'd go on long walks to the waterfall where they first met, saying little and saying everything. Even when apart, when Deku returned to his world for UA Hero Council missions, or when Naruko toured allied villages, there was never distance between them. The marks ensured that. Whenever one of them was in trouble, the glow would pull stronger. If one laughed, the other felt it like sunlight through skin. It wasn't magic, exactly, it was something older. Deeper. "You ready for today's assignment?" Deku asked, motioning toward the scroll she held. Naruko sighed, rubbing her temples. "Yeah. Diplomatic negotiations. Boring. Wanna switch? I'll go punch things with Todoroki and you can deal with paperwork and old nobles who only speak in riddles. You do realize I like riddles, right? You're a monster. And yet you love me." She smirked. "Guess that makes me a monster too." He reached over, took her hand, and laced their fingers together. Their marks flared softly, not dramatic anymore, just steady. Like a heartbeat shared between two people. The moment was cut short when a hawk swooped in, dropping a sealed message. Naruko opened it and frowned. "Problem?" Deku asked. She scanned the message quickly. "It's from the Quirk Research Bureau. There's been a weird signal on the edge of the dimensional borderlands. Like a pull. A tug. They think it's another soul mark trying to connect, one that's been silent for a long time." Deku's eyes narrowed. "You think it's another bond? Maybe. Or something trying to mimic one." They didn't hesitate. Within minutes, they were geared and moving. As they raced through the woods, one with chakra-enhanced speed, the other streaking with green lightning, Naruko glanced sideways. "You ever wonder," she said between breaths, "if we were meant to do more than just find each other?" Deku met her gaze. "You mean, help others find the same?" "Yeah. Maybe our connection wasn't just for us. Maybe it was to remind people, both worlds, that fate is real. That even when everything's dark, there's someone out there who'll understand you. Completely." He nodded. "Then let's protect that. Not just for us, but for anyone still waiting." As the trees blurred past, and the pulse of their marks synchronized into a single, steady beat, the path ahead glowed faintly. Not with chakra. Not with quirk energy. With destiny. And together, they ran toward it. As Naruko and Deku neared the edge of the dimensional borderlands, the sky above shifted into soft amber hues, an early twilight washing everything in gold. Their steps slowed not from exhaustion, but from thought. The tug they felt from the mysterious signal echoed strangely within them, as if it stirred memories that were not fully their own. Deku broke the silence. "Funny, isn't it? How the more time we spend together, the more I feel like I've known you forever." Naruko smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. "Yeah. Me too. Like we've met before. Even when we hadn't." They paused near a quiet clearing, where two trees leaned into each other like old friends. The wind whispered softly, like it remembered something they'd forgotten. And just like that, the world around them blurred, and their minds drifted gently into the past. 5 years ago, the first festival. The first time they attended a festival together, Naruko insisted Deku wear a yukata. He fumbled with the sash, red in the face, while she laughed so hard she nearly dropped her dengo. "You look like a folded futon," she giggled. He crossed his arms. "Hey, At least I'm trying. This isn't exactly UA dress code. Later that night, they stood on the edge of the lake, watching fireworks bloom over the water. Deku glanced down at her, the light of 1,000 sparks reflected in her eyes. This is kind of perfect, he whispered. She didn't say anything at first, but she reached over and linked her pinky with his. No, kind of. It is perfect. Their soul marks had glowed the entire time, not blinding, just steady, like candlelight. 3 years ago, the snowfall. Naruko hated the cold. She always claimed it froze her chakra channels and stole her energy, though Deku knew it mostly just gave her cold fingers and a red nose. One winter morning, she found herself stuck outside in the middle of a surprise snowfall. Deku had sensed her discomfort before she even said anything. His soul mark had pulsed 3 times, sharp, quick beats. By the time she made it to her porch, he was already there, holding 2 cups of tea and wearing 3 scarves. I figured you'd forget gloves again, he said. She blinked at him, stunned. You always do when it snows. I made ginger tea. She took the cup, fingers brushing his. Her mark flared with heat against the cold. You're like a psychic grandma. Nope, he said. Just your soulmate. That night, they sat under a blanket on the porch, watching the snow settle like soft stars across the village. No words. Just warmth. 2 years ago, the first real argument. It wasn't loud. It wasn't angry. It was just quiet. They disagreed on a policy, something about whether hero licensing rules should be adopted in the shinobi world. Deku believed in regulation. Naruko believed in trust. For a week, they barely spoke. The air between them felt different. Not cold, but distant. One evening, Naruko stood alone on the training field, kicking at the dirt. You know what hurts? She said, not knowing he was nearby. Not being mad. Just not feeling you close. Like something important's missing. He stepped out from the shadows, his voice gentle. Me too. Their marks hadn't glowed all week. But as soon as their eyes met again, soft, vulnerable, open, they flared brighter than they had in months. We're not perfect, Deku said, but I'd rather mess up beside you than be right without you. She nodded. Same. From then on, they made a promise, disagreements would happen, but the connection would always come first. 1 year ago, the morning promise. It was early, before sunrise. The world still felt sleepy. Naruko stirred awake, groaning as she realized she had to attend a 5-hour summit with visiting dignitaries. She rolled over, and there he was, already awake, watching the soft light glow across her face. You're staring again, she muttered. I'm memorizing, he replied. Memorizing what? This. Your breath. Your smile. How your hair gets wild after you sleep. One day, when we're older, I want to remember every part of now. She chuckled, eyes still half shut. You're such a nerd. Maybe, he said, but I'm your nerd. That morning, before she left, he pulled her close by the wrist and touched her mark with his lips. No matter how far apart we are today, I'm right here. Always. And that day, though long, filled with speeches and formality, felt easier, lighter, because of that moment. Back to present, the edge of the borderlands. Naruko blinked back to the present as a bird chirped above them. Deku rubbed his arm absent-mindedly. You remembered too? She asked. He nodded. All of it. It's like this place brings back everything that ever made us us. They stood in silence again. Not because they had nothing to say, but because some silences are sacred. Full of feeling. Full of history. Then Naruko took a deep breath and pointed ahead. Come on, nerd. Let's find whoever's out there. If there's a new bond forming, they'll need someone to show them how to walk through it. Deku grinned. You mean someone to argue with them about hero laws while bringing them tea? She smirked. Exactly. They walked on, side by side, hands brushing now and then but not needing to hold. Their souls were already connected. And with each step, the past echoed in their hearts, not as memories they clung to, but as proof of everything they had built together. Naruko stepped forward slowly, hands relaxed at her sides, her voice calm but full of warmth. We're not here to scare you. I'm Naruko. This is Deku. We felt something. Like a calling. The girl and boy exchanged glances, uncertain but curious. The girl shifted her shawl around her shoulders and looked directly at them. We didn't mean to send anything. It just started happening. The mark, his mark, it glowed. Then mine did too. Deku smiled gently. It's okay. Sometimes soul marks awaken when the connection becomes real. You might have triggered something powerful without realizing it. The boy hesitated before speaking, his voice softer than his frame suggested. We're from different villages. I wasn't even supposed to be here today. I was helping my sensei with scroll records near the rift, and she was sketching by the stream. I didn't even see her at first. The girl took over, her eyes wide with wonder. But I felt it. Like something reached out and tapped me on the inside. I thought I was getting sick, but when I turned around and saw him. She trailed off, glancing at the boy. It was like my heart remembered him before my brain could catch up. Naruko looked at Deku, her smile growing. Sounds familiar, huh? Deku nodded, stepping closer. Can we see the marks? The two teens looked at each other and nodded. The boy rolled up his sleeve, revealing a faint, shimmering outline on his forearm, an incomplete swirl that pulsed gently, like it was waiting to finish its shape. The girl pulled her shawl back to show a matching shape forming at her collarbone. Neither mark was fully formed yet, but they clearly belonged to the same pattern, two halves of something ancient and beautiful. It's still growing, Naruko said softly, crouching to get a better look. Just like your bond. You're at the beginning. The girl tilted her head. Are you? Like us? Deku nodded. Yeah. Our marks lit up the day we met. We didn't know what it meant at first, either. But soul marks. They're more than signs. They're reminders. That someone out there understands you in a way no one else can. But how do we know it's real? The boy asked quietly, anxiety flickering behind his glasses. We're so different. What if we just think we're connected, and we're not? Naruko gave him a thoughtful look. Being different doesn't break the bond. It strengthens it. Deku and I are from completely different worlds. We argued, misunderstood each other, clashed more than once. But the mark didn't disappear. It just got clearer the more we grew. Deku added, soulmates don't mean perfect. They mean chosen. And choosing each other over and over, that's what makes the bond real. The two teens stood quietly, taking that in. Then, slowly, their hands found each other. Their marks pulsed a little brighter. Not flashy. Just steady. Naruko stood and brushed moss from her cloak. You don't need to figure it all out today. Just keep walking forward. Together. Deku smiled. And when it feels confusing or hard, talk. Be honest. And don't run from it. The boy looked at the girl. I wasn't planning to. The girl smiled back, a little shy. Good. As the sun dipped lower, casting golden light through the trees, Naruko and Deku stepped back to give them space. They didn't need to interfere. The connection was already taking root. They'd been there to witness it, not to direct it. That was the way of soul marks. They weren't assignments. They were invitations. And somewhere deep inside, as Naruko felt Deku's fingers brush gently against hers, she realized they had become something else too, not just soulmates, but guides. Proof that fate could be real. That love didn't need permission. That no matter how different your paths were, the heart always knew its way home. They walked in silence for a while, the forest now behind them, the sky turning soft with twilight. The encounter with the two teens had left something lingering in the air, something hopeful. Naruko glanced over at Deku, and he was already watching her. I love seeing that, he said. What? She asked, nudging his elbow playfully. That first moment. When soul marks awaken. It reminds me of us. All over again. Naruko rolled her eyes, but her smile betrayed her. You're such a romantic. You chose me, didn't you? I was probably under some weird genjutsu. Please, he laughed, you practically dragged me into your world. Yeah, and look how good that turned out. They reached the hill overlooking the village just as the lanterns below began to glow, lighting up streets and windows like constellations. It was peaceful. Familiar. A shared home born from two different ones. Neither of them had planned this life. But they had chosen it, piece by piece. Naruko sat on the grass, cloak pulling around her. Deku joined her, pulling his knees close and letting out a long breath. You ever wonder what would have happened if I never fell through the portal? He asked. She leaned back on her hands. Sometimes. But then I stopped wondering. Because you did. You really think it was fate? She thought about that. I think fate gives you an opening. But it's your choice whether to walk through it. You could have stayed scared. I could have pushed you away. But we didn't. He looked down at his mark, still glowing faintly. You know what I think the real sign of a soulmate is? What? Every time something changes, every challenge, every success, every quiet moment, I still want to turn to you first. Naruko blinked, startled by how deeply that landed. Wow. Okay. That's actually really nice. I know. Write it down. She smacked his arm. Nerd. He chuckled, resting his head on her shoulder. There was no rush. No mission. Just stillness between them now. The kind that only came after years of growing, learning, choosing. They didn't need fireworks or glowing threads anymore. Their connection was settled, strong. Something that had matured alongside them. And yet, it still felt fresh in the best way, like each day together added something new to the story. Think we'll always feel it? Naruko asked quietly. The bond? Yeah. Even when we're old and cranky. Deku smiled. Especially then. The stars were out now, one by one. The wind moved gently through the trees. And the village below, once filled with mystery and worry, was now simply home. Together, they sat in the quiet glow of their shared life. Not waiting for the next grand moment. Just living in the beauty of what they had already found. And that was more than enough. The Soulmate festival was unlike any celebration Naruko had ever attended. The air buzzed with laughter, music, and the soft glow of thousands of lanterns floating into the dusky sky. Stalls lined the path, offering everything from traditional shinobi sweets to hero-themed souvenirs from Deku's world. Couples and friends alike wandered together, their soul marks faintly glowing, a gentle reminder of the bonds that connected them across worlds. Naruko felt a flutter of nerves despite the festive atmosphere. As Hokage, she was expected to greet the crowd and speak about the importance of unity between the worlds. But Deku squeezed her hand and gave her a reassuring smile. We're in this together, he whispered. His calm steadied her, and together they stepped forward. They passed by a group of young students, their eyes wide with awe as they recognized the legendary Hokage and the famed hero. One shy girl tugged on Naruko's sleeve, whispering, "Are your soul marks real? Do they hurt?" Naruko crouched down and shook her head gently. They don't hurt. They're a sign, a promise that someone out there understands you, no matter where you are. The girl's smile was radiant, and Naruko felt a warmth spread through her chest. As the evening deepened, Naruko and Deku joined the lantern lighting ceremony. Each couple lit a paper lantern, inscribed with their hopes and dreams, then released it into the sky. Watching their lantern drift upward, Naruko leaned into Deku and murmured, "It's funny, how these small lights can feel like the brightest thing in the world." Deku nodded, eyes reflecting the glowing orbs above. "Just like us," he said softly. The festival was not just celebration but connection, a reminder that love and friendship could bridge even the widest divides. For Naruko and Deku, it was a night to cherish, a quiet moment of joy amid their busy lives. As they walked home under the starry sky, their hands intertwined, their soul marks pulsed gently in harmony, a symbol that no matter the challenges ahead, they would face them together. After the lanterns had all floated away and the festival's music faded into the night, Naruko and Deku found themselves wandering toward a quiet food stall that smelled irresistibly like sweet dango. Naruko's eyes sparkled as she picked up a skewer, grinning. "Bet you can't eat 3 of these faster than me." Deku's competitive spirit instantly sparked. Challenge accepted. They settled onto a low bench, side by side, hands still brushing together, their soul marks glowing faintly in the moonlight. With exaggerated concentration, they each took a bite, and suddenly, the friendly competition was on. Naruko's laughter bubbled out as Deku's face got sticky with sweet sauce. Deku made mock declarations about training harder to beat her next time, while Naruko teased him for not being hero enough. Between bites and jokes, the world felt lighter, the weight of responsibility easing for a while. Naruko leaned her head on Deku's shoulder, sighing happily. "You know, I think this might be my favorite part of the festival, the part where it's just us." Deku smiled, brushing a stray hair behind her ear. "Same here. No speeches. No expectations. Just Dengo and you." She nudged him playfully. "Don't let it go to your head." He laughed softly, the warmth between them growing deeper in the quiet night. Naruko and Deku had always known their bond was unique. From the moment their soul marks appeared, glowing softly on their skin like whispered promises, they had felt connected by something deeper than friendship, something beyond the worlds they came from. Yet, after years together, something unexpected began to stir. One morning, as the sun filtered through the window of their shared home, Deku awoke to find his soul mark flickering, an irregular pulse, like a heartbeat out of sync. At the same time, Naruko sat across from him, her expression troubled, her own mark shimmering with unfamiliar colors. "Deku," she said quietly, I think our bond is changing. Before he could ask what she meant, a soft light filled the room. The air shimmered, and suddenly, standing between them was a figure neither expected, a young girl, her eyes wide with wonder, and a mark glowing just like theirs. I'm connected to you both, she whispered, voice trembling. I'm your third thread. Naruko and Deku exchanged stunned glances. The girl's presence filled the room with an unfamiliar energy, not threatening, but powerful and strange. Her soul mark shimmered between soft pink and green hues, unlike either of theirs. Naruko took a cautious step forward. Who are you? How do you know you're connected to us? The girl swallowed nervously. My name's Eri. I started seeing glowing patterns on my skin a few days ago, and then I found myself drawn here. Like a compass. When I arrived, your marks flared brighter. Deku knelt down to meet her eyes. Soul marks usually connect two people. But sometimes, rare bonds form with more than two souls. It's called a triad. It's very unusual. Eri's eyes widened. A triad? I never heard of that. What does it mean? Naruko exchanged a look with Deku. It means our connection is changing. Growing. Stronger in ways we didn't expect. The three sat quietly for a moment, the soft pulse of their linked soul marks filling the room with a steady rhythm, like a new heartbeat shared between them. At first, the idea of a triad bond felt overwhelming. Naruko was used to the familiar rhythm she shared with Deku, steady, comforting, like two halves making a whole. But now, with Eri joining them, the connection pulsed differently, like a chord with three distinct notes, sometimes harmonious, sometimes dissonant. Have you felt anything unusual since the marks appeared? Naruko asked Eri gently. Eri nodded. Sometimes, I hear thoughts, not like voices, more like feelings. When you're happy, I feel light. When you're worried, it's like a weight in my chest. And last night, I dreamed of both of you, like we were running through a vast forest together, but I couldn't find the way out. Deku frowned thoughtfully. That sounds like a shared subconscious, our souls trying to understand this new bond. It means we're linked on more than just a physical level now. Naruko reached out, taking Eri's hand in hers. We'll figure this out. Together. Days passed, and the triad's connection deepened. They practiced sensing each other's emotions and even thoughts with surprising clarity, but sometimes the flood of feelings was confusing. When one felt overwhelmed, the others picked up the strain, sharing strength and comfort in equal measure. One afternoon, as they trained in a quiet clearing, something remarkable happened. Deku focused on controlling his quirk, aiming to push a gentle burst of energy outward. Naruko, synchronizing with him, felt her chakra flow in harmony. Eri, hesitant at first, found her own latent energy stirring within her, a mysterious force neither chakra nor quirk, but something new, something born from the triad's unity. When they combined their powers, a soft glow surrounded them, pulsing with the colors of their soul marks intertwining. The energy wasn't overwhelming, but balanced, like three streams joining into a steady river. Naruko smiled, eyes shining. This is just the beginning. Our bond isn't just about fate, it's about growing stronger, together. Deku nodded. And no matter what happens, we have each other. Eri squeezed their hands. Thank you, for not being scared of me. Naruko laughed softly. How could we be scared? You're part of us now. Word of the triad bond spread quickly. In both the shinobi villages and the quirk world, people whispered with awe and curiosity. Most were amazed, some even hopeful, that such a rare connection could exist. But as with any new and unexpected thing, there were questions, doubts, and a few worried glances. Naruko and Deku noticed the shift first at the Hokage's office, where trusted advisors gathered with cautious expressions. A triad, Shikamaru said, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. Never seen one before, but it might change how we understand soul marks, and the bonds they create. I want to meet her, Tsuyu added quietly, eyes sharp and observant. See if she's ready for what this means. Deku nodded. Eri's brave. She's learning fast. At school and training grounds, friends ask lots of questions. Does it mean you're three now? One student joked. Can you all be soulmates together? Naruko laughed, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. It means we're connected in a way none of us expected. We're learning what it really means every day. For Eri, the attention was overwhelming. She sometimes felt like a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit, different from the others, still figuring out her place in this new world. One evening, Naruko found her sitting alone by the river, tracing patterns in the water with a stick. She sat beside her quietly. Feeling out of place? Naruko asked gently. Eri nodded. I don't want to be a problem. I just want to be part of the bond, not the third wheel. Naruko smiled warmly. There's no third wheel here. You complete the circle. Our bond is stronger because of you, not despite you. Deku joined them, holding out a hand. We're in this together, Eri. No matter what anyone else says. The three sat by the riverbank, their soul marks glowing softly in the moonlight, three threads woven tightly, unbreakable and true. As days turned into weeks, the triad's bond settled into a new rhythm. What once felt confusing now brought a steady comfort, a feeling of home shared between three hearts. Naruko, Deku, and Eri learned to listen not only with their ears or eyes but with their souls, sensing each other's joys, worries, and dreams without needing words. One afternoon, they gathered in a quiet garden, sunlight filtering through leaves, warmth resting gently on their skin. Eri looked up at Naruko and Deku, a soft smile lighting her face. I used to feel alone, like my mark made me different in a way no one would understand. Naruko reached over, squeezing her hand. Being different is what makes us special. Our bond is proof that love and friendship can grow in unexpected ways. Deku nodded. It's like our souls found new colors when we came together, colors we never knew existed until now. The three shared a laugh, their connection glowing softly, their marks shimmering like intertwined threads of light. As the sun began to set, they lit a small lantern together, each of them writing a wish on the paper before releasing it into the sky. The lantern floated upward, carrying their hopes of unity, understanding, and the joy of shared journeys ahead. Naruko rested her head on Deku's shoulder, Eri close beside them. No matter what comes next, Naruko whispered, we'll always find our way, because our hearts are tied together. Deku smiled, warmth filling his chest. Soulmates don't just mean finding each other once. They mean choosing each other every day. Eri's eyes shone bright. And I choose you both. The lantern drifted higher and higher, a glowing symbol of a new kind of love, one that stretched beyond worlds, beyond expectation, into forever. Dear YouTube family. That's all for today. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe to support my channel. Much love to all of you. 6 Path Weeb.